Hello, it is January 25th, and we're going to start off with our readings tonight. We're going to do the Lord's Prayer first. We're going to finish Genesis, and we're starting Exodus. So we're going from Genesis 51 through Exodus 2:10. Exodus is the second book of the Bible. We're also in Matthew 16:13 through 17:9, Psalms 21 1 through 13, and Proverbs 5 1 through 6. So, like we try to do every day, let's start off with the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. Deliver us from evil, for thine is the kingdom, the power, the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Okay, Genesis 51 through Exodus 2:10. Make sure everything's a go. Let's fix my light. All right, Genesis 51. 51. Joseph threw himself on his father, wept over him, and kissed him. So Jacob had just passed away, if you've been keeping up with our story. So Joseph's father passed away, Jacob, Israel. Joseph then instructed the physicians to employ to embalm his father. The physicians embalmed Israel. The embalming took 40 days, the period required for embalming. Wow. Could you imagine that nowadays? There was public mourning by the Egyptians for 70 days. When the period of mourning was completed, Joseph petitioned Pharaoh's court. If you have reason to think kindly of me, present Pharaoh with my request. My father made me swear, saying, I am ready to die. Bury me in the grave plot that I prepared for myself in the land of Canaan. Please give me leave to go up and bury my father, then I'll come back. Pharaoh said, certainly. Go and bury your father, as he made you promise under oath. So Joseph left to bury his father, and all the high-ranking officials from the Pharaoh's court went with him. All the dignitaries of Egypt joining Joseph's family, his brothers, and his father's family. Their children and flocks and herds were left in Goshen. Chariots and horsemen accompanied them. It was a huge funeral procession. Arriving at the Atad threshing floor, just across the Jordan River, they stopped for a period of mourning, letting their grief out loud in lengthy lament. For 7 days, Joseph engaged in these funeral rites for his father. When the Canaanites who lived in that area saw the grief being poured out at the Atad threshing floor, they said, look how deeply the Egyptians are mourning. That is how the site at the Jordan got the name Abel Mizraim, Egyptian lament. Jacob's sons continued to carry out his instructions to the letter. They took him on into Canaan and buried him in the cave in the field of Machpelah. Good Lord with these names. Facing Mamre, the field that Abraham had bought as a burial plot from Ephron the Hittite. After burying his father, Joseph went back to Egypt. All his brothers who had come with him to bury his father returned with him. After the funeral, Joseph's brothers talked among themselves. What if Joseph is carrying a grudge and decides to pay us back for all the wrong we did him? So they sent Joseph a message before his death. Your father gave this command. Tell Joseph, forgive your brother's sin. All that wrongdoings they did treat you very badly. They did treat you very badly. Will you do it? Will you forgive their sins of the servants of your father's God? When Joseph received their messages, he wept. Then the brothers went in person to him, threw themselves on the ground before him, and said, we'll be your slaves. Joseph replied, don't be afraid. Do I act for God? Don't you see, you planned evil against me, but God used the same plans for my good. And you see all around you right now, for many people. Easy now. You have nothing to fear. I'll take care of you and your children, he assured them, speaking with them heart to heart. Joseph continued to live in Egypt with his father's family. Joseph lived 110 years. He lived to see Ephraim's sons into their third generation. The sons of Machir, Manasseh's sons, were also recognized as Joseph's. At the end, Joseph said to his brothers, I am ready to die. God will most certainly pay you a visit and take you out of this land and back to the land he so solemnly promised to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Then Joseph made the sons of Israel promise under oath, when God makes his visitation, make sure you take my bones with you as you leave here. Joseph died at the age of 110 years. They embalmed him and placed him in a coffin in Egypt. There are the names of the Israelites who went to Egypt with Jacob, each bringing his family members. More names, so bear with me. Reuben, Simeon, Levi, and Judah, Issachar, Zebulun, and Benjamin, Dan and Naphtali, Gad, Asher, 70 persons in all generated by Jacob's seed. Joseph was already in Egypt. Then Joseph died and all his brothers, that whole generation. But the children of Israel kept reproducing. They were very prolific, a population explosion in their own right, and the land was filled with them. A new king came to power in Egypt who didn't know Joseph. He spoke to his people with alarm. There are way too many of these Israelites for us to handle. We've got to do something. Let's devise a plan to contain them, lest, if there's a war, they should join our armies or just walk off and leave us. So they organized them into work gangs and put them to hard labor under the gang foreman. They built the storage cities Pithom and Ramses for Pharaoh. But the harder the Egyptians worked them, the more the children the Israelites had. Children everywhere. The Egyptians got so they couldn't stand the Israelites and treated them worse than ever, crushing them with slave labor. They made them miserable with hard labor, making bricks and mortar and back-breaking work in the fields. They piled on the work, crushing them under the cruel workload. The king of Egypt had to talk with the two Hebrew midwives. One was named Shiphrah and the other Puah. He said, when you deliver the Hebrew women, look at the sex of the baby. If it is a boy, kill him. If it's a girl, let her live. But the midwives had far too much respect for God and didn't do what the king of Egypt ordered. They let the boy babies live. The king of Egypt called in the midwives. Why didn't you obey my orders? You let those babies live. The midwives answered Pharaoh, the Hebrew women aren't like the Egyptian women. They're vigorous. Before the midwife can get there, they already had their baby. God was pleased with the midwives. The people continued to increase in number, a very strong people, and became the midwives honored. And because the midwives honored God, God gave them families of their own. So Pharaoh issued a general order to all his people: every boy that is born, drown him in the Nile, but let the girls live. A man from the family of Levi married a Levite woman. The woman became pregnant and had a son. She saw there was something special about him and hid him. She hid him for 3 months. When she couldn't hide him any longer, she got a little boat made of papyrus, waterproofed it with tar and pitch, and placed the child in it. Then she set it afloat in the reeds in the edge of the Nile. The baby's older sister found herself a vantage point a little way off to watch to see what happened to him. Pharaoh's daughter came down to the Nile to bathe. Her maiden strolled to the bank. She saw the boat floating in the reeds and sent her maid to get it. She opened it and saw the child, a baby crying. Her heart went out to him. She said, this must be one of the Hebrew babies. Then his sister was before her. Do you want me to go with you to get a nursing mother for the Hebrews so they can nurse the baby for you? Pharaoh's daughter said, yes, go. The girl went and called the child's mother. Pharaoh's daughter told her, take this baby and nurse him for me. I'll pay you. The woman took the child and nursed him. After the child was weaned, she presented him to Pharaoh's daughter, who adopted him as her son. She named him Moses. You ready for this story? No, Moses means pulled out, saying, I pulled him out of the water. Oh, man, that's over already. That's going to get really, really good. So we just went into Exodus also. So we went from Jacob and Joseph into Moses. And this is where the story starts getting really good. So you'll have to kind of hang on for probably the next several days, probably 5 or 6, 7 days. Matthew 16:13 through 17:9. I'm excited about tomorrow now to get into this story. I might read it early in the morning. When Jesus arrived in the villages of Caesar Philippi, he asked his disciples, what are people saying about who the Son of Man is? They replied, some think he's John the Baptizer, some say Elijah, some Jeremiah, or one of the other prophets. He pressed them, how about you? Who do you say I am? Simon Peter said, you're the Christ, the Messiah, the Son of the living God. Jesus came back. God bless you, Simon, son of Jonah. You didn't get the answers out of the books from your teachers, my Father in heaven. God himself let you in on the secret of who I really am. And now I'm going to tell you who you really are. You are Peter, the rock. This is the rock on which I will put together my church, a church so expansive with energy that not even the gates of hell will be able to keep it out. And that's not all. You will have complete and free access to God's kingdom keys to open up any and every door. No more barriers between heaven and earth and heaven, and yes, on earth is heaven. And yes, on earth is yes in heaven. The way they write things in the Bible sometimes. And no on earth is no in heaven. He swore the disciples to secrecy. He made them promise they would tell no one that he was the Messiah. Then Jesus made it clear to his disciples that it was now necessary for him to go to Jerusalem, submit to an ordeal of suffering at the hands of the religious leaders, to be killed, and them on the third day be raised up alive. Peter took him in hand, protesting, "Impossible, Master, that can never be." But Jesus didn't swerve. Out of my way. Peter, get out of my way. Satan, get lost. You have no idea how God works. Then Jesus went to work on his disciples. Anyone who intends to come with me has to let me lead. You're not in the driver's seat. I am. Do not run from my suffering. Do not run from suffering. Embrace it. Follow me and I'll show you how. Self help is no help at all. Self sacrifice is the way, my way, to finding yourself, your true self. What kind of deal is it to get everything you want but lose yourself? What could you ever trade for your soul for? Don't be in such a hurry to go out into business for yourself. Before you know it, is the Son of Man will arrive with all of the splendor of my Father, accompanied by an army of angels. You'll get everything you have coming to you, a personal gift. This isn't pie in the sky, by and by. Some of you standing here are going to see it take place. See the Son of Man in kingdom glory. 6 days later, 3 of them saw the glory. Jesus took Peter and the brothers, James and John, and led them to a high mountain. His appearance changed from the inside out, right before their eyes. Sunlight poured upon his face, his clothes were filled with light, and they realized that Moses and Elijah were also there in the deep conversation with him. Peter broke in, "Master, this is a great moment. What would you think if I built 3 memorials here on the mountain, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah?" While he was going on like this, babbling, a light radiant cloud enveloped them, and sounding from deep in the cloud a voice, "This is my son, marked by my love. Focus on my delight and listen to him." When the disciples heard it, they fell flat on their face, scared to death, but Jesus came over and touched them. "Don't be afraid." When he opened their eyes and looked around, all they saw was Jesus and only Jesus. Coming down from the mountains, Jesus swore them to secrecy. "Don't breathe a word of what you've seen. After the Son of Man is raised from the dead, you are free to talk." Okay, I didn't do the recap of Genesis part, and then I'm going to do Matthew in just a second. Could you imagine being on a mountain and you hear a voice coming out of the clouds? I'm sure those guys probably messed in their apparel. I know they wore kind of like dress looking things back then. But all right, the breakdown for Genesis 5:1 through Exodus 2:10 says Joseph dies, but not in fear. He dies in faith and says, "God will surely visit you." The promise outlives the man. Israel moves from favor to oppression, but even slavery can't stop destiny. Pharaoh tries to kill the future, yet Moses is born anyway and raised in a very house meant to destroy him. God often prepares deliverers in hidden, uncomfortable places. I'm ready for that. Matthew 16:13 through 17:9, the breakdown says, Peter declares Jesus as the Christ, not by intellect, but by revelation. Then Jesus immediately talks about suffering, because glory always presses through a cross. On the Mount of Transfiguration, the disciples see Jesus in his full glory and hear the Father say, "Listen to him." Y'all, I got goosebumps. I got goosebumps back of my neck. When God reveals who Jesus is, the right person is obedient, not just amazed. Not just amazement. I'm going to read that again. When God reveals who Jesus is, the right person. Try again. When God reveals who Jesus is, the right response is obedience, not just amazement. I never got person out of that. Good Lord. Okay, let's read Psalms. Psalms 21, 1 through 13. Your strength, God is the king's strength. helped. He's hollering hosannas. You gave him exactly what he wanted. You didn't hold back. You filled his arms with gifts. You gave him a right royal welcome. He wanted a good life. You gave it to him, and then made it a long life as a bonus. You lifted him high and bright as a cumulus cloud, then dressed him in rainbow colors. You pile blessings on him. You make him glad when you smile. It is a wonder the king loves God, but he's sticking with the best. With a fistful of enemies in one hand and a fistful of haters in the other, you radiate with such brilliance. Then they cringe as before a furnace. Now the furnace swallows them whole. The fire eats them alive. You purge the earth and their proper progeny. I have to look that word up. You wipe the slate clean. All the evil schemes, the plots they cook up, have fizzled. Every one. You sent them packing. You couldn't face it. Show the strength, God, so no one can miss it. You were out singing the good news. The breakdown of Psalms 21, 1 through 13 says, This is the joy of a king who knows where victory comes from. Strength, honor, and triumph flow from trusting the Lord, not self reliance. God doesn't just answer prayers, he goes beyond what we ask. The psalm ends reminding us God's power will always outlast his enemies. Lastly, Proverbs 1, 5, 1 through 6 says, Dear friend, pay close attention to this, my wisdom. Listen very closely to the way I see it, then you'll acquire a taste for good sense. What I tell you will keep you out of trouble. The lips of a seduced woman are so sweet. Her soft words are oh so smooth. But it won't be long before she's gravel in your mouth, a pain in your gut, a wound in your heart. She's dancing down the perfumed path of death. She's headed straight for hell and taking you with her. She hasn't a clue about real life, or who she is, or where she's going. Let's read the breakdown on that one. That's interesting. A sobering warning. Sin often sounds sweet, but ends bitter. Temptation never advertises its consequences. Temptation never advertises its consequences. Wisdom says, listen early, stay alert, and guard your heart, because the path away from God is subtle, not sudden. I'm going to read that part again. Wisdom says, listen early, stay alert. Guard your heart, because the path away from God is subtle, not sudden. Man, that's so true. So the big picture of all of this is God is faithful across generations. Jesus is the revealed Son we must follow. Victory comes from trusting God, and wisdom keeps you from drifting where you're never meant to go. Have a better than good day, and we will see you tomorrow. I love you. If no one told you today, I love you. Have a good night.